This is the story of an amazing testament to love, devotion, and the resilience of the human spirit. It's the story of a brother and sister who need your help. Hello, I'm Ava Weiss. Sadeepa and Chalan Munasinghe are from Sri Lanka and now live in the Ann Arbor area. They are fighting to stay here because they are fighting to save Sadeepa's life. Sadeepa, her brother Chalan, and Sadeepa's professor, Dr. Pamela Spielman, join us for this edition of Access Ann Arbor, Help Sadeepa. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having us.
Chalan, you came here when to the United States?
I came in 2002 fall.
And when did Sadeepa join you?
She came in 2004.
And then when did you realize that something was wrong with your sister?
It was after actually 1 year where she was like studying. I mean, she was getting good grades and nothing was wrong with her. And after 1 year, she developed this contraction in her mouth, and that's how everything started off.
And Sadeepa, how did you feel?
I felt horrible. I went from top to bottom so suddenly, and that was unimaginable. I couldn't imagine that I went so bad that quick. And he was such a good brother. He was always help me out. He took it to the ER more than 10 times all by himself, and but the doctors were in Alabama couldn't diagnose my sickness right away. They almost tested me over 2 months, and then they found out that I have a rare sickness called Wilson's disease, and that's why we are in Michigan now, and I'm the lovely store.
So you started in the U.S. in Alabama.
Yes, that's
right?
correct.
At University of Southern Alabama you were at. And so what happened with the doctors there that forced you to make the big move to Ann Arbor?
In fact, like the doctors, they were having a hard time first of all to diagnose it, and she was throwing up, and she was the contractions, and her body was like deteriorating. And then finally they diagnosed, and they told that it was Wilson's.
How long did it take them to diagnose her?
But 2 months.
Oh.
And
And what were you doing in those 2 months? You were spending multiple visits to the hospital?
oh God, yeah. I mean, we have been
And
like,
we spent so much of money on the drug. Yeah.
yeah, because like the drug itself is so expensive also, and there were so many visits to back and forth to the hospital and ER, and they give painkillers, but the painkillers was not working on her too, and this kind
I
of
didn't sleep for 2 months straight away.
she didn't sleep for 2 months straight up, yeah, and it
And
was,
while this was going on, you also were dealing with the hurricane.
that's
is
right,
that
that's
true?
correct, yeah.
Mm.
And she was sick, and even she was sick. She was supposed to go to school, and I was supposed to go to school. And this hurricane came down, and I mean, it was a mandatory evacuation, so we had to move out. And she was in a motel, and the medicine kind of made so hard on her that her muscles became so stone hard that I had to hit her so hard in order for her to be comfortable. And this was going on for like weeks, and I was like praying to God, like what's going on, you know, in our lives. And all of a sudden, and my parents are back in Sri Lanka at that point. And I'm thankful to God that we came so far, and we are still surviving, and especially her.
That's great. That's great. And Dr. Spielman, when did you first encounter Sadeepa?
I met Sadeepa a couple of years ago when Shaylin brought her to my office with her mom, and they knocked on my door. And I had Shaylin earlier in the semester. Well, because she has to be a full-time student, he thought it was best to be with someone that could understand her situation, which I understood quickly.
She understands more than enough for me to be able to be in a class. The most wonderful thing that happened to me in my school years. She's such a great big mom. She acts like my mother, but she never scolds me.
All the good and none of the bad. That's great. And so your mother was here for a time from Sri Lanka, both of your parents, correct?
That's correct.
And how long were they here?
They came on tourist visas, and they came to Michigan, and they were trying to take her back to Sri Lanka because they had never seen her daughter like this. And unfortunately, there was no treatment. Actually, when they were there, I sent them documentation, and what they told was like it was related to depression, and maybe since the parents are not here, she might be depressed.
Impossible.
Yeah,
if
so
anybody knows you, they would know that wasn't true.
That's right. But I mean, it's a rare disease, so I mean, the doctors in Alabama, this is the first patient that they came across.
Wow.
And
So-
they were residents also, so they didn't know much about
Yeah.
me.
But what they did was like they treated off with the FDA approved drug, and that didn't work out on her at all, and that kind of created more problems, and she almost died actually.
Yeah.
So, but
And that became an issue when you were trying to go to University of Michigan hospitals, right? The health system demanded that she wasn't on the drug
Yeah.
a certain amount of time.
exactly, they gave us a certain number, like 28 days. If it is not exceeded 28 days, then they wanted us here. Otherwise, they will not take the responsibility.
Yeah.
But we are blessed that it was below that, and she came over, and then my parents came over, and they were helping her out since then. And every 6 months they have like renewed their visas, and everything was done according to immigration rules of the United States, till they left last year, 4th of July, and that also they left. They were not planning to leave because my mom knew that if something goes wrong and if she's not able to come back, then she'll be in a very bad situation, especially with my cooking, you know.
I'm here for it.
Right.
Yeah. And this, yeah.
But the thing is, like, sadly, this one lady, consul officer in the U.S. Embassy in Sri Lanka, said that you're not going to go back, which the same lady who actually responded to the Congressman Dingell's office said that, like, they will give the fullest consideration for my mom to come back to the United States.